In his 30 years here, author Jack Sheehan has written articles and books about every dark corner of Las Vegas. Amazing, since most of his time is spent at country clubs and cocktail parties.
Television journalist George Knapp is the best bloodhound in Vegas. George has a bunch of Emmy Awards to show for his efforts, and I'm sick of hearing about him.
You know, Jack and I have both had our fill of parachute journalists dropping into our city for 3 days to write the quintessential Vegas story. They don't know squat. We've been here forever, and we've got the wrinkles and the gray hair to prove it.
You want the real Las Vegas stories, the ones nobody else could get? We've got them for you.
Money, money, money. Bill from Barry Sand. Cyanide, honey. With every blackjack hand. Watch the sun rising. Through Vegas. Follow the lead, it's juice, not just hustlers, drifters, honest cops, aces high, big money drops. Marriage stiff, might lose his sight. Casting demons into the night. Deadlines, stories hot. Watch your back, you might get shot. True Vegas, true Vegas, true Vegas, true Vegas.
Sometimes you just get lucky. I had to call on every connection and ounce of juice I had to get an interview with Jimmy Chagra. When the former drug kingpin, indicted for murder, sat down with us, it was the first in-depth, on-camera interview he'd ever given.
I was a megalomaniac, actually. I mean, I had so much money, so much power. My biggest regret is not smuggling pot. I enjoyed it. It was fun. I made money. I was able to gamble and have fun. As a matter of fact, when I got arrested, I thought that I could buy Judge Wood off, and I tried through a family member. He wouldn't budge. My biggest regret is that Judge Wood was killed. Oscar was not only my lawyer, he became my friend. I thank God for Oscar every day.
Oscar Goodman calls himself the world's happiest mayor. Before that, he was a top-drawer criminal defense attorney. He calls his acquittal of Jimmy Chagra on murder charges the high point of his legal career.
With Jimmy, the evidence was great. Every plane crashed, every boat sunk, but what can I tell you?
I mean, he was the biggest of the big, though.
That's what they say.
But you won an acquittal on that murder charge on the federal judge. Tell us a little about that.
Well, he was charged with the assassination of John H. Wood Jr., who was going to preside over a marijuana and cocaine case down there. And the day the public thought the trial was going to start, the judge left his apartment, walked to his car, saw that his tires were flattened, turned around to go back and call somebody, and a bullet hit him in the back of the spine. And as I understand it, the government spent only second to the JFK investigation in money spent as far as the criminal case was concerned. Jury came back not guilty.
And that was one of your big wins.
It was a big win.
In terms of smugglers around the world, were you as big as anybody at your peak?
I think I was the biggest ever then.
Biggest ever?
Ever, yeah.
There's a story where you were in the ocean actually using a package of weed to stay alive. Tell me about that.
I lost an engine on takeoff, and I didn't know which engine, right, rudder, left, or right.
Were you the pilot?
I was flying it, yeah.
Okay.
And so I went on in, and actually my arm was paralyzed for like 6 weeks after.
So you crashed the plane in the ocean?
Yeah, I crashed in the ocean, but the bales were floating, so I grabbed hold of a bale, and I'm trying to see my Mexicans come to rescue me, but apparently I was so far out they didn't realize what had happened. I floated on that bag in that ocean for like 15 hours before they came out and got me. I opened a little carpet store.
What was the name of it?
Chagra's Carpet Company.
Okay.
A floor without a rug is like a kiss without a hug. That was my motto in the advertising. So the first smuggle I ever did was 760 pounds, which I didn't know if that was big or not, but that's all that would fit in the plane. I saw the Golden Goose there, and I told him, I said, this thing's got to be done right. We got to have people on the ground that'll show us when we need to land, because I landed on highways in the States too. We went to this guy's house and we unloaded and weighed it and everything, and I told him the price, and he said it'd take about 4 or 5 days. And I said, yeah, okay. I didn't believe he could sell it all in 4 or 5 days. I had no idea, right? The next day he calls us up and says, hey, it's all gone, come get your money. Whoa. So I told Pete, I said, we got to get organized. This is insane. I said, we got to get planes that'll hold more. We got to get radios. In other words, my business sense came out then. I mean, it was still just purchasing, transportation, marketing, and selling. You know?
In other words, this isn't one store, this is a franchise.
This is a franchise. I'm ready to roll. We bought some 210s and 206s and 206 Skywagon, you know, and then we went to the Twins, and then we went to the DC3s and the Howard, and it just progressed like that. And there's all kinds of stories in the middle of that. Guy got his head chopped off in a 340 push-pull. He didn't see the back prop and walked right in one of my, anyway.
Were you there?
Oh yeah, I was.
You saw it happen?
Yeah, of course, happened right in front of me.
The guy was decapitated right in front of you.
Yeah, and his brain was just like, looked like an intestine. There wasn't a lot of blood. And I had shootouts with the federales. They kidnapped a couple of my pilots one time because the Americans that have got weed from them before hadn't paid them. So the next Americans come in, we're going to get it. So they kidnapped a couple of my pilots, and I had to go down and drop some money to them. And they let the planes up, and they came up loaded with the pot. I wasn't ready for I said, but I didn't ever want to do coke. I had many, many opportunities to smuggle coke and heroin.
Why didn't you?
Because pot in those days was 5 years, didn't matter the amount, and coke and hard drugs were 15 and up. So I figured I'd probably take a pop someday and do a nickel. Prime Minister of the Bahamas was on my payroll. I give him $10 a pound for everything that he could secure my boats in the Bahamian waters.
You were paying off the head of the country.
Yeah, and they wanted me to testify against him later, but I never did. One of my buyers apparently got cut into by a New England outfit, Patriarcha and that crew. Told him, well, you know, my supplier's a guy in Florida that's just a pot smuggler, got a lot of money. So they came by and tried to kidnap me. But on the street that I lived, I had 7 houses. I lived in the back and the very end, and my guys lived there, and we had pine trees. But you couldn't drive down that road without bells going off in all our houses to let us know. Now, you saw Scarface, I assume?
Yes.
Well, you saw his cameras in the bedroom and all that. Mine were twice as sophisticated.
This is in Florida?
In Florida, yeah,
okay.
on Godfrey Road. I could see everything everywhere. And, of course, I was worried about security. I mean, I had tons of money, and cars come down the road here, and it's back and forth several times. And I said, okay, so I turned on my cameras, and I saw it. I said, well, go ahead and grab it. I had some tough guys, a lot tougher than I am, you know, working for me. And they stopped them, and they grabbed them, and they took them down to the pantry house, and come to find out it was a couple of New England outfit guys. Now, I don't know if I want to put this on there. I don't want no repercussions with these young Turks later, but so be it if they do anyway. So we had them down there, and they eventually told us what had happened. So there was 2 of them. I told them, well, I'm going to keep you, and you got to go bring me $250,000, or neither one of you. So that's what happened.
Or getting out alive.
Yeah.
I heard from a guy who worked on the gaming control board that you would bring in bags full of cash, set them on the cashier's counter at Caesars and say, count the money, I'm going to gamble. True or not true?
It's true, but not bags, Foot Lockers.
How much would be in a Foot Locker, for example?
Well, probably $2 million.
What he says that night, this was in your heyday, he said he was worried about getting out alive that night because you were mad.
No, I never got, see, I never got mad gambling.
Okay.
And you can talk to any of them people, any of them guys.
And you always paid your debts?
Always, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, me and Doyle, besides golf, we played sports every day. I put a T in one of the guys' mouths and put a ball on it and told him I was going to try to hit a drive off his lips.
This is one of the guys who had cheated you?
Yeah. And unless he gave me that money and the money that I'd paid him the before and double it.
Tell me about this trophy that's sitting here. It looks like you won the U.S. Open golf tournament or something. But it says...
I tried to hawk it. They wouldn't give me none.
The trophy says, Jimmy Chagra, the king, the fastest, classiest, most high-rolling gambler who ever walked into Caesar's Palace or any other casino in the world, from the dice dealers who have the honor to know you, November 1978.
They were losing a lot of money, the casinos. I had about 10 million in the cage, you know.
At Caesars?
At Caesars, yeah. And I think it was Murray Guinness or one of them asked me if they could get 5 million from me till morning. Well, they could go across the street or something and get it, I'm sure, at that time, but they were losing big to the Orientals at the Baccarat and everything. He said the whole, and you know, I said, yeah, if you sign a marker. I made him sign a marker.
So Caesar's Palace borrowed 5 million from you.
Yeah, I think it was 5 or 10, I'm not sure.
Well,
I was like a maniac in those days. You got to understand, it was a different situation there.
Well, you're using cocaine. You got more money than God.
Exactly.
You are, according to this trophy, the king in Vegas.
And I told him, I said, you know, you're probably using Spilatro's money, or what? I don't care. I said, I want that money back. I know you cold decked me, or I'm going to kill you, you know. And no, let's talk. I said, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it at all. I want my money back, you know. Well, you know, you're doing the wrong thing. You're going to get in serious trouble. I said, well, I was like a maniac, you know. I didn't care about Spilatro. I'll tell you another story about Spilatro.
Good.
But Oscar
Goodman
squared this deal with me and Spilatro. I'll tell you about it later, though.
Okay.
There's a different story.
All right.
I don't know if Oscar will admit it now.
That's all right. He's a mayor. He doesn't have to.
Yeah, he doesn't have to, and I don't know if we should even put it on the table.
Oh, I think we should.
No, well, I ain't going to tell you the story then.
Oh, well then I don't think we should.
Okay. But anyway, so I told Sergeant Farragut, I said, you got 3 hours, and I want my money or bring people with you, because we're going to have a war, you know. And he brought it.
He did bring the money.
He brought it back to me. I'm with my guys, you know, and we go into the Jubilee, and they had the booths like a Caesar's Palace booth here,
Okay.
and tables and stuff. Well, they sat me in this booth, and we're drinking champagne and partying. You know, we got hookers with us and broads, and Spilatro comes in, and apparently this is his booth, and he's pissed off at the waiter comes to me and says, hey, do you mind giving? I said, I ain't giving. That booth's empty. It's same. It's like across the aisle, same. I ain't moving, man. You know, period.
This is really like the two lions in the jungle.
Well, I didn't
head.
know him. I didn't know who he was.
Did he know who you were?
No, he didn't know who I was either.
Okay.
Now, I'll tell you what. He's exactly like Casino. I mean, he killed the waitress. She spilled a drink on him and didn't apologize enough. And he waited. This is after we got to be friends. And anyway, let me get back to the story. So, he's a little fucking shrimp telling me I'm gonna move, you know? I ain't going nowhere. Oh, we'll see about that. Who the fuck are you? Who the fuck? Tell your waiter, you know, go talk to the waiter about this. I ain't moving. You're in trouble and all this shit. I forgot about it. I didn't even know who it was. I didn't care, you know? Right. I didn't move. I know that. So, I'm surprised he didn't just kill me right then, you know? After I found out who it was later and everything. So the next day, maybe 2 days later, Oscar calls me. He said, I got to see you at the office. I said, what's up? He said, I got to talk to you. I want you to meet somebody. So apparently, Spilatro checked around to see who I was and stuff. So I go down to Oscar's office, and I walk in, and there's Tony, you know. And he said, I want you to meet Anthony Spilatro.
So that's how you met Tony Spilatro?
Yeah. We're drinking and stuff, and this waitress spilled a drink on her, right? On him, accidentally.
Okay.
And again, he's telling me about, you know, he's got Chicago people who can do all kinds of stuff. So, and when he got off the coke thing, he said, pot, give me some pot. I said, I don't do that no more. I quit, you know. And first of all, I didn't want to do nothing with him because he'd clip me, you know. I mean, he's stone cold, just like Casino. I mean, there's no doubt, you know.
Put your head in a vice.
I was crazy too, but not
that crazy.
No, not like him.
So what happened to that cocktail waitress?
So he said, that son of a bitch, she didn't. I said, what are you, that fucking, she'll be sorry. And I, come on, man. So I forgot about it. But 2 days later in the paper, she's missing, man. And I know in my heart that he
took her out in the desert.
Yeah, he took her out in the desert and killed her for that.
Good Lord. For a spilled drink.
Huh?
For a spilled drink.
For a spilled drink, and she didn't apologize quick enough or something. I'm going into Caesar's Palace, and there's this girl, young girl, and crying at the desk, at the front desk. And you know, I never had to check in or nothing. I go whenever I wanted. I had a suite, and so. But I felt bad. What's wrong? Well, I'm on my honeymoon and my husband just lost all our money, $1,200. We don't know what to do, and they're kicking us out of they're kicking them out of the room, you know, asking them to leave. I said, oh, no, that ain't gonna happen, you know. So I talked to her. Where's your husband? He was over on the couch crying too, you know. She's so I said, just wait. So I get him and I take him aside and I said, what the fuck's wrong with you, man? You're on your goddamn honeymoon. Your wife's up there crying. And I don't know, he's crying too. Young kids, you know.
Yeah.
So I said, look, I'll tell you what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna get you a room, comped, and I'm gonna give you a couple $1,000. And if I hear you gamble that money, you're gonna, oh, that never happened anyway. So I did that kind of stuff too.
Most accounts that you read in these old stories say that there's absolutely no question that you ordered the hit of Maximum John Wood. What do you say to that?
Well, I said I did it to get paroled, so I'll stick to that story right now. Well, Judge Wood hated my brother so much, my brother Lee, that he wanted a Chagra any way he could get him, you know. Personally, I don't know if Charlie Harrelson killed Judge Wood or not.
Did you know Charlie Harrelson?
Yeah, of course I knew.
How'd you know him?
I met him at the Horseshoe.
Judge Sessions, is he the guy who later became the head of the FBI?
That's how he became the head of the FBI, by being the judge in all my cases.
How about that?
He was my judge in 5 different trials in 5 different states.
So you're responsible for him becoming the head of the FBI?
I would say so, yeah. Way back when, I tried to plead guilty, Oscar would tell you this, to having Judge Wood murdered if they'd release my wife. They said no.
So you were going to plead guilty if they'd let Liz out?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they tortured her for no... Cause
she actually died in prison,
yeah,
did
she died in prison.
Of cancer?
Of cancer, because she wouldn't testify against me. I was a megalomaniac, actually. I mean, I had so much money, so much power. As a matter of fact, when I got arrested, I thought that I could buy Judge Wood off, and I tried through a family member. I think it was $5 million cash I offered him, or 10, something like that.
It wouldn't budge.
He wouldn't budge for that kind of money. Nixon took $250,000 on their vote.
Because you are what's considered a drug kingpin when you go into prison.
Right.
Does that put a bullseye on your chest? You become a target?
Of course. They had a lot of guys try me, and I got stabbed once, and I stabbed a couple people. I mean, prison's not a nice place. For 18 months, they had me on this bus ride, and in fact, they had to cut my wedding ring off my finger at that time because your hands swell up and stuff. And during that period, too, on the bus ride, there was an escape attempt out of Lewisburg. I happened to be on the bus. The people tried to escape. They beat the shit out of all of us. You know, I've been through hell in the prison system.
Did everybody know who you were when you were in Vegas?
In Vegas? Yeah.
And now you live a life where nobody knows who you are.
Yeah, but they will. You know,
So
I mean, I'm not gonna, I want my name back, you know. I want to be Jim Chagra again. That's who I am, you know.